Very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News on TV1, coming to you live from the Newsfirst studios in Colombo. My name is Krishan Devasagayam. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
For garden tools, b2b.lk.
Demand for immediate implementation of Grade 6 module system. Parents protest in multiple areas.
අලුත් අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමය ගේනවට ඇත්තටම විරුද්ධතාවය දක්වන්නේ ඔය පිටරට අධ්‍යාපනය ලැබපු අය එහෙම නැත්නම් බාගෙට ඉගෙන ගන්නපු අය එහෙම නැත්නම් හොර උපාධි ගන්නපු අය.
Minister Nalinda explains the consequences of stalling education reforms.
ප්‍රසංස්කරණ නොකරොත් වෙන වැඩේ තමයි ඔබට අනාගතයේදී සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස උදේගම්මන් පිළ වගේ වැඩිපුර බලා ගන්න පුළුවන්කම ලැබෙයි.
Exhibition of sacred Sarvagnya relics discovered in Gujarat to begin on the 4th of February at the Hunupitiya Gangarame temple. Drivers who commit traffic violations and attempt to flee by endangering police officers to face attempted murder charges. Demerit point system to launch in July. Sri Lanka's Viran Chamuditha sets new tournament record at the Under-19 Cricket World Cup.
And he is certainly one to watch.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
For hardware, b2b.lk.
In your top story tonight, the Ministry of Education has announced that textbooks used by last year's grade 6 students will be provided to this year's grade 6 students following difficulties caused by the postponement of education reforms due to opposition protests. Accordingly, the old curriculum for grade 6 will remain in effect for the current academic year.
The introduction of the new education reforms for grade 6, originally planned for this year, has been postponed until next year due to repeated allegations from various parties, including the opposition. When inquired by Newsfirst, Nalika Kalwevel, Secretary of the Ministry of Education, stated that steps are being taken to print the necessary workbooks for grade 6 students. Meanwhile, a protest was held today in Polonnaruwa demanding the reinstatement of the cancelled grade 6 education reforms. The protest was organised by the Grade 6 Parents Association.
The world is rapidly evolving with new inventions and technological advancements driving society forward. Yet, as the world moves ahead, it is disheartening to see some people in our country, this pearl of the Indian Ocean, resorting to rituals like smashing coconuts at Khataragama to protest against education reforms. As a mother, I see this as a regressive and deeply disappointing act. We desperately need education reforms. Under this outdated system, our children will never develop the modern mindsets and attitudes required for the future. It is ironic that the politicians shouting against these changes often send their own children to international schools or universities abroad. Meanwhile, the majority of our children rely solely on the free education system. That system must be improved so they can learn effectively, thrive and pursue their goals without unnecessary mental burden or outdated constraints.
ලස්සනට ඉගෙන ගන්න එක. ඒක මානසික පීඩාවක් නැතුව ඉගෙන ගන්න තියෙන්න ඕනේ. අපේ 6 වසර දරුවෝ ඇත්තටම ආසාවෙන් ඉගෙන ගන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන.
Our children who pass the scholarship exam with such high hopes enter these prestigious schools specifically expecting to learn under the promised new education reforms. They were genuinely excited for a fresh start. Yet, with only a week to go, all those hopes seem to have vanished. We gave this government a massive mandate, a 2/3 majority, specifically because we wanted to see this transformation. As parents, we aren't just seeking for change. We truly need it for the sake of our children's future.
ඉතින් ඇත්තට මේ වෙනස අපිට ඕනේ. මම 2026 හය ශ්‍රේණියේ
I speak to you today as a mother of a child entering grade 6 in 2026, but also as a teacher who is eagerly preparing to implement these new reforms. Having personally undergone the training for these new instruction modules, I have seen firsthand the positive impact and the potential they hold for our students. Honourable President, Honourable Prime Minister, this reform was the greatest gift offered to the grade 6 students of 2026. To have it snatched away just as it was within reach is heart-wrenching. It is like a meal offered to a hungry child, only to be taken away before the first bite. I most earnestly appeal to the education authorities. Please do not deny our children this progress. They deserve this reform.
A father of a grade 6 student began a hunger strike today in Ampara town, demanding that the education reforms be implemented from 21st of January. He was accompanied by his wife and their 2 school-going children.
මම ළමයි 3 දෙනෙක්ගේ තාත්තා කෙනෙක් මගේ ලොකු ළමයි දෙන්නට උගන්වන්නේ අද්දි එක්කෙනෙක් උසස් පෙළ එක්කෙනෙක් සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ
I am the father of 3 children. My 2 older children are in school, one in advanced level and the other in ordinary level. Seeing the stress and struggles they faced under this education system and the difficulties we as parents had to bear to support their learning made me realize the value of what the new system offers for my youngest child, who is about to enter grade 6. According to what the school teachers, the principal and officials from the Zonal Education Office told me, this is the luckiest group of children to have had an education system that reduces the burden on both students and parents over such a long period. It's a system that allows children to learn through fun, creativity and sports without being dominated by fear of exams. It gives them opportunities to develop freely. From the very moment I realized that there are moves to deny my child this education system, our child started crying. As a father, I felt I couldn't just stand by and watch my child suffer. I had to do what I could do for my child. That is why I decided to undertake this extreme hunger strike. Politicians can control access to education in Sri Lanka all what they want. It doesn't matter to them. Their children have the freedom to go abroad easily, and with their money they can earn degrees and become successful in life. For our children, however, being able to grow into free citizens through such an education system is a privilege that many of them don't understand or appreciate. That's why I believe these people are trying to sabotage the education of our children.
ඒක නිසා තමයි මේගොල්ලෝ අපේ දරුවන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපනයට අකුල් හෙලන්නේ කියලා තමයි මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ.
A protest was held today in Mathura by the District Grade 6 Parents Association demanding the reinstatement of the 6-year modular system.
අලුත් අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමය ගේනවට ඇත්තටම විරුද්ධතාවය දක්වන්නේ
The real opposition to the new education system comes from those who studied abroad, or those who were educated in private institutions, or even those who obtained degrees dishonestly. These people have analyzed the situation carefully and are acting to serve their own political agendas, not out of concern for the love or future of our children. Just look at where the children of these people who are opposing the reforms are studying. They are attending international schools or universities abroad.
වල ජාත්‍යන්තර පාසල්වල ඉගෙන ගන්න දරුවෝ.
I have a special request for the people of this country. Study this matter carefully. Investigate through the responsible institutions and determine yourselves who is actually opposing it. We do not see the opposing forces as people who genuinely wish the country well or have done good for the nation. Are bankrupt politicians driving small-scale protests and getting government support? Or are the government and authorities even paying attention to what many Sri Lankan parents are saying? It's time they did. Children had been waiting with high hopes for this. Everyone knew that their school bag would become lighter, that this would benefit them in the future. Every step of the way, children were encouraged to believe that their future would be better. Even at the shops, they were told that book bags would be lighter and it would help them. Now, however, children are facing difficulties. So, who are these people, like Vimal Veeravansa? How many cases are pending against them? What are they doing? Talking falsely in the name of protecting our children's future? They spread more lies than the truth to incite public opposition, all to increase their own fame and power. Now the expectation is that once these education reforms are completely scrapped, they can go back to forming a group of rigid people, indulging in drugs, sitting on bridges or rooftops, making noise and doing whatever they want.
Former Minister Sim Chandrasena, who was remanded over a corruption allegation and later released on bail, also held a media briefing today and shared his views on education reforms.
Education reform should have begun after consulting the Mahasangha and seeking their guidance and blessings. If discussions had been held with them from the start, this kind of conflict would have not arisen. Instead, we now see blame being shifted from one person to another, and the whole process looks chaotic. I myself was educated at a Pirivena and passed the advanced level examination before entering university. I clearly understand the commitment and contribution that the Pirivena system and the monks make to education. Therefore, my proposal is that any education reform must be carried out with the advice, counsel and guidance of the Mahasangha.
During the briefing, journalists also questioned him about court cases involving his brother, former North Central Province Chief Minister S.M. Ranjit, who is currently serving a sentence with rigorous imprisonment under the Bribery Act, as well as his wife Shanti Chandrasena.
අප්‍රේල් මාසයේදී නැවත නඩුව කැඳවීමට නියමිතයි ඔබතුමාගේ සහෝදරයාගේ බිරිඳගේ මේව මොන තාත්තයකද තියෙන්නේ මේ දැන් ඔබතුමාලගේ නඩුව කටයුතු
අධිකරණයේ පවතින නඩු පිළිබඳව මම විවේචනය කතා කරන්න යන්නේ නැහැ මොකද ඉතින් අපි ඒවට අවශ්‍ය විදිහට මුහුණ දෙමින් කටයුතු කරන්න යනවා මේ වෙනකොට.
The chief prelate of the Malvatu chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Mahanayak Thero, emphasized that it is not the opposition's role to oppose everything the government does. He made these remarks during a visit by Samagivanita Balavega's secretary, Chomindrani Kiriala today.
හොඳ දේවල් වලට අපිත් දැන් අධ්‍යාපන ප්‍රතිසංස්කරණය ගත්තොත් නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම අපි සියලු දෙනාම එකග වෙනවා වෙනසක් වෙන්න ඕනේ කියලා. මේ මුලින්දම ආවනම් මේ රට මෙච්චර ශ්‍රී ලංකාව කට්ටිය බස් වලට ගන්න නීබාට මොනවා යුගලියා ඒක මකල කොලකාට ඒක නැතුව හොඳ කර්මයකට ඉන්න.
Venerable Dimulkumure Sri Vimaladhamma Thera, Anunayaka of the Malvatu chapter, also offered advice to the MP and the opposition.
හැමදේටම ඇත්තටම විරුද්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි හොඳ දේට අපි ඇත්තටම මිනිස්සු අපරාධය
After paying courtesy calls on the Mahanayaka Theras of the Malvatu and Askiri chapters in Kandy this morning, Minister of Health and Mass Media Dr. Nalinda Jaitis explained what would happen if education reforms are not implemented.
If we do not carry out these education reforms, what you will see more of in the future are people like Sajit Premadasa and Udaya Manpila. If education reforms are done properly, we will create proud Sri Lankan citizens suited for the 21st century. The public must decide whether they want to avoid education reforms and produce more people like Sajit and Gamanpila, or whether they want to implement reforms and produce people who can succeed in the world.
Then why were the education reforms for grade 6 postponed?
Education is an extremely sensitive matter in our country. If you are building a highway, a road, a bridge or a tunnel, even if not everyone agrees 100%, you can still proceed for the greater good of the majority. But education is something you cannot carry out by excluding anyone. Because of the confusion created by a group including Sajit, Dilit and Namal, some parents developed doubts about whether these education reforms would truly benefit their children. That doubt may even have spread among the general public. public. So, if even a small section of parents had such confusion, we had to think carefully about taking these reforms forward. That is why we temporarily suspended the grade 6 modules. We must stop that confusion. Today, those who created this confusion can come out and say where the flaws were. But at the very least, how can people who have not even read a module make such claims? It is nothing but a cheap political show. It is something driven purely by political malice. And that is becoming clear today. That is why we are hearing people like Sajid are now avoiding those debates to the point that they can barely be found. Because after Sajid Premadasa spoke about what he called obscenity and homosexual tendencies, they are now in a position where they cannot go beyond that point.
In more local news, a heated argument broke out last night between police and supporters of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna while they were putting up flags and decorations along the road for a political rally organised by the party to be held in Tambutegaba today.
Supporters of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna were seen arguing with the police in this manner when they attempted to erect flagpoles without permission along both sides of the road in Tambutegama town. Police had granted permission for a meeting organised by the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna to be held in Tambutegama yesterday. However, police media spokesperson, Assistant Superintendent of Police F.U. Wootler said that in the afternoon, a group of organisers attempted to put up flagpoles along the roadsides ahead of the rally. Police explained the relevant legal position to the group regarding this unlawful act. However, the police media spokesperson said the officer in charge of the Tambutegama police station did not allow the illegal activity, and steps were taken to remove the flagpoles accordingly.
News First with the people.
The exhibition of the sacred Sarvagnya relics brought from India will be held at Colombo's Hunupitiya Gangaramya temple starting from the 4th of February.
The exhibition of the Sarvagnya relics brought to Sri Lanka with the sponsorship of the Indian government will commence at the Hunupitiya Gangaramya temple in Colombo from the 4th of next month. The Ministry of Buddha Sasana stated that the exhibition will continue until the 12th of February. Meanwhile, Chief Government Whip Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa informed the Mahasangha about this today.
The Sarvagnya Relics exhibition was discussed during the visit of the Indian Prime Minister. During his visit to Sri Lanka last April, the Indian Prime Minister discussed with the President the plan to bring the Sarvagnya relics from India for the Sri Lankan public to pay homage. Accordingly, a 7-day exhibition of the relics will be held at Gangaramya Temple in Colombo from the 4th to the 11th of February.
වුණා.
In another headline-making story tonight, Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of Traffic and Road Safety, WPJ Senadira, says legal action will be taken against drivers who endanger police officers by driving recklessly and attempting to flee under the charge of attempted murder.
The launch ceremony for the GovPay application to facilitate traffic fine payments for the Kegal and Sitawaka police divisions was held today in Avisawela. As part of the program, 120 mobile devices were handed over to police officers in charge of these divisions to implement the traffic fine payment system through the GovPay app.
I can never.
Do not claim that the police lack these devices. Every traffic officer has been provided with one. In the near future, additional smart devices will also be issued, ensuring that all online transactions operate smoothly. Later, payments will also be extended to post offices, guaranteeing that 100% of fines are processed digitally and properly recorded.
100% digital recording.
The digital system to add competency points to driving license is scheduled to launch in July.
Road discipline. Social media.
Road discipline is critical. Lately, we've observed on social media that buses are racing and vehicles are moving without any regard for oncoming traffic. There's a total lack of consideration for public safety. Drivers must ensure cyclists and pedestrians have safe passage. Whenever we see violations, vehicles must be stopped immediately, drivers detained, and fines or penalties applied. At the same time, drivers should cooperate with drug tests without fear. The public must respect the law, and fear of enforcement should be present. This is how compliance is ensured. Over 31% of accidents involve pedestrians. Pedestrians must follow proper conduct, staying on the right side of the road than the left. Helmets must be worn at all times. Any report submitted to the police about violations cannot be ignored. The next day, failure to comply will lead to criminal charges, including attempted murder or even murder charges on extreme cases. We have kept these powers in our hands for enforcement purposes. These are legally granted to the Sri Lanka police by legislation. No one else can act on them, so we must enforce them. In case of a serious incident, criminal charges will be applied under Section 272 of the Penal Code if intentional harm or negligence is involved. Do not hesitate to file charges if required. We must think about the public. People under the influence of drugs or alcohol or acting recklessly cannot be allowed to move freely on our roads. Soft enforcement or half measures are not sufficient. Everything must be done properly and consistently.
Vehicles, including buses and three-wheelers that retain dangerous modifications or parts, will face legal action. Motor vehicle inspectors have been instructed to issue prohibited orders, and court action will follow if compliance is not met.
Modifications.
Inspect all vehicle modifications thoroughly. Buses must remove prohibited modifications before departure or en route. If this is not done immediately, the vehicle will be seized and reported to the police. Motor vehicle inspectors must be informed and prohibited orders enforced. Fines range from 50,000 rupees to 150,000 rupees. We cannot allow lawlessness on our roads. Under a 3-year strategic plan, these measures aim to reduce fatal and serious traffic accidents nationwide.
තුන්වරු සැලැස්ම යටතේ මේ මාරකර යනතුරු බරපතල යනතුරු අඩු කරන්න දැන් යන්නේ. මේක ව්‍යාසනයක් බවට වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
Now, police say the fatal shooting of a man in Jintupitiya, Colombo last night resulted from a dispute between two rival underworld groups.
The incident occurred at around 10 p.m. yesterday. Police reported that the attack was carried out by two individuals who arrived in a three-wheeler. CCTV footages showed that one of the assailants had disguised himself as a Muslim woman. Police added that the shooting was carried out using a revolver. The life of 44-year-old Lianagodarachge Jesu Nasser, a resident of Colombo 13, was claimed in the shooting incident. His 4-year-old son and his sister's 3-year-old daughter were also injured in the shooting and are currently receiving treatment at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children in Colombo. Police added that the shooting was carried out using a revolver.
Meanwhile, the final rites of veteran singer and instrumentalist Raju Bandara were held this afternoon at the Boralla Public Cemetery.
Raju Bandara, born on 14th of April 1960 in Kegol, was the youngest son of veteran singer Chandra Bandara. Rising to fame in the 1990s as a popular singing star, Raju Bandara was also widely celebrated as an exceptional guitarist, winning the love and admiration of the public. Some of his memorable songs include Ma Adre Mululavatat Vada, Ram Sinunadade, Hada Vedana Misse, and Kaudo Magilove Sarisaruwe. He left an indelible mark on the local band music scene, performing as a permanent member of groups such as Madara and Fortune. Raju also shared his musical expertise with future generations as a judge on Sirasa Superstar Season 2, contributing significantly to the growth of young talent. After a period of illness, Raju Bandara passed away the day before yesterday at the age of 65. For public respect, his body was laid at a private funeral parlour in Boralla. Following religious rites, the final funeral proceedings took place at the Boralla General Cemetery. Carrying his guitar and enveloped in gentle melodies, Raju Bandara bid farewell to his audience one last time. Raju Bandara, may your soul rest in peace.
Now, the port city Colombo marked a significant milestone yesterday with the official launch of the food harbour.
The food harbour at Port City Colombo was officially opened yesterday, marking a key milestone in Sri Lanka's tourism and investment journey. Designed as a vibrant container-style dining destination, the food harbour offers a curated selection of 12 food brands, bringing together global flavours and Sri Lankan favourites in a lively, open-air setting where visitors can eat, explore and unwind. The launch was attended by Minister Vijitha Herath, Minister Anil Jayantha, the Governor of the Western Province, Hanif Yusuf, the Ambassador of the People's Republic of China to Sri Lanka, Chi Zeng Hong, and other dignitaries.
The Colombo Port City's goal is clear but ambitious: to build a world-class special economic zone that attracts investment, drives tourism, and creates new opportunities for Sri Lankans as well as for the global citizen. Not only for the investors arriving at our new business center, but also for the public who can now enjoy this energetic and welcoming space. This is Sri Lanka's first international standard open-air F&B destination.
Port City was conceived as a gateway between Sri Lanka and the world. The food harbour brings that vision to life. It reflects an island nation open to ideas, open to cultures, and open to innovation while remaining deeply rooted in our warmth, our hospitality, and our entrepreneurial spirit. Places like this do more than serve food. They shape perception. They tell a story. They say to the world, Sri Lanka is ready. Ready to host, ready to invest, ready to innovate, and ready to lead in the Indian Ocean region as a lifestyle, tourism, and business destination.
Over the years, the two sides have continued to deepen practical cooperation based on the principle of mutual benefit and win-win outcomes. As one of Sri Lanka's important platforms for urban development and investment promotion, the Colombo Port City project is accelerating the aggregation of resources, cultivation of industries, and enhancement of his international profile. Supported by an ever-improving legal framework and a governance structure, China stands ready to continue working with Sri Lanka in the spirit of mutual respect, equality, mutual benefit, openness, and inclusiveness to advance more tangible cooperation outcomes and to further expand cooperation in areas such as investment and trade, modern services, green development, tourism, and people-to-people exchanges.
What you have done today, this is a boomerang effect. They're going to transform Colombo into heritage buildings, walking areas, art and culture. We would make Colombo like no other. Very soon you'll see street musicians at every corner in Colombo. This is just a beginning. The target is to get foreigners who come here to stay more than a day in Colombo, make it 3 days.
As the first of many lifestyle destinations planned within Port City Colombo, the food harbour signals a confident step forward in shaping a dynamic, modern and globally connected urban experience for Sri Lanka.
And it's more positive news from the tourism sector in Sri Lanka. The island is off to a flying start this year, welcoming 131,898 tourists in the first 15 days of January, according to the latest report from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Now, which countries are sending the most visitors to our island paradise? Newsfirst's Vinujasini Viratna reports.
After several challenging years, tourism in Sri Lanka is showing a strong comeback. According to the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, over 130,000 tourists arrived in just the first 15 days of January. India led the way with 23,786 visitors, Russia with 14,785, 12,166 arrived in Sri Lanka from the United Kingdom. Meanwhile, 9,260 German tourist arrivals were recorded. France added 6,252 tourists to the records. Other notable arrivals include Australia, China, Poland, the United States, and the Netherlands. These numbers signal that the world is rediscovering Sri Lanka, and our island is once again emerging as a top travel destination.
The second phase of the LOLC You, Me, Our Nation social welfare program was implemented today for the 14th consecutive day, focusing on schools in the Badulla and Kandy districts. Under this phase, 200 schools damaged by the recent cyclone Ditwa will undergo renovations.
The LOLC You, Me, Our Nation social welfare program consists of 3 phases. During the first phase, essential supplies, including dry rations, were distributed over 10 days to people whose homes were completely damaged by Cyclone Ditwa. The second phase began with the aim of renovating 200 schools affected by the disaster. This phase will be implemented over the next few days, focusing on 6 districts across 3 provinces. Under this program, ongoing efforts in the Badulla district include renovating the electrical system at Spring Valley Tamil School, refurbishing an open-air classroom at Narangala Tamil School, and upgrading the toilet system at Valluvar School. The LOLC social welfare initiative is carried out entirely for the benefit of the people of Sri Lanka.
Eric Meyer is set to be appointed as the next United States ambassador to Sri Lanka, according to reports indicating that US President Donald Trump himself has nominated him for the diplomatic post.
Eric Meyer is set to become the next United States ambassador to Sri Lanka after being nominated by US President Donald Trump. Meyer, a career member of the Senior Foreign Service, currently serves as the senior bureau official for the Bureau of South and Central Asian Affairs. In this role, he oversees the bureau and coordinates US policy priorities across South and Central Asia, including Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. His nomination comes following the departure of Julie Chung, who concluded her nearly 4-year tenure as US Ambassador to Sri Lanka on 16th of January 2026, having served in the position since 2022.
US President Donald Trump has threatened to place tariffs on nations that do not go along with his ambitions to annex Greenland.
And I may do that for Greenland.
Trump said at a White House meeting that he may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland, which is a self-governing territory controlled by Denmark. He did not say which countries might be hit with the new tariffs or what authority he would invoke to use such import taxes in pursuit of his goal. Along with Denmark and Greenland, other countries oppose his plans, and many in the US have expressed skepticism about an acquisition.
Greenland needs to be viewed as our ally, not as an asset.
As Trump spoke, a bipartisan congressional delegation was visiting Greenland to show support for the territory. The 11-member group included Republicans who voiced concerns about the president's calls for the U.S. to somehow acquire Greenland for national security reasons. They met MPs as well as Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and her Greenlandic counterpart Jens Frederik Nelson. Group leader Chris Coons, a Democrat, said their trip was to listen to the locals and take their views back to Washington to quote-unquote lower the temperature. Trump has said Greenland is vital for U.S. security, and Washington would get it the easy way or the hard way, an apparent reference to buying the island or taking it by force. Greenland is sparsely populated but resource-rich, and its location between North America and the Arctic makes it well-placed for early warning systems in the event of missile attacks and for monitoring vessels in the region. Under existing agreements with Denmark, the U.S. has the power to bring as many troops as it wants to Greenland, but Trump has said the U.S. needs to own it to defend it properly against possible Russian or Chinese attacks. Denmark has warned that military action would spell the end of NATO, the Transatlantic Defense Alliance, where the US is the most influential partner. NATO works on the principle that allies have to aid each other in case of attack from outside. It has never faced an option where one member would use force against another. European allies have rallied to Denmark's support. They have said the Arctic region is equally important to them and that its security should be a joint NATO responsibility with the US involved.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has also said that the United States is ready to resume mediation between Egypt and Ethiopia to help resolve their long-running dispute over sharing Nile River waters.
In a message shared on his Truth Social account on Friday, Trump said Washington was prepared to step back into a mediator's role to reach a fair and lasting agreement. He later confirmed the offer in a letter sent to the Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. He wrote, quote, "I am ready to restart U.S. mediation between Egypt and Ethiopia to responsibly resolve the question of the Nile water sharing once and for all." Trump stressed that no country should control the Nile in a way that harms others. The dispute centers on Ethiopia's management of major upstream dam projects and Egypt's concerns that reduced water flows could affect farming, drinking water and economic stability. Sudan, which lies downstream of Ethiopia and upstream of Egypt, has also raised concern about water security and dam safety.
And in the world of cricket, Sri Lanka's Viran Chamudita has set a new record in the Under-19 Cricket World Cup history by scoring the highest individual runs in an innings. He achieved this feat against Japan in the tournament, amassing 192 runs.
Previously, this record was held in 2018 by Sri Lanka's Hasita Boyagoda, who scored 191 runs. Batting first, the Sri Lankan team amassed a total of 387 runs for the loss of 4 wickets in the allotted 50 overs. Dimanta Mahavitana provided invaluable support to Viran, contributing 115 runs. Together, the opening pair put on a partnership of 328 runs. This stands as the highest ever partnership for any wicket in Under-19 World Cup history. The 2026 Under-19 Cricket World Cup is being held in Namibia.
Individual score.
And in an update received a short while ago, Sri Lanka won that match against Japan in the Under-19 World Cup by 203 runs. Well, on that note, we wrap up this edition of Primetime News. Thank you for watching. Take care, good night, and God bless you.